What's up, enthusiasts? It is your boy Rob, back with another video. GW is up to their usual shenanigans, so get your Capri Suns out. We're gonna need them.
Okay, if you're like me and you've played pretty much every single war game in the Warhammer franchise or the Games Workshop sphere, then you know that the best Warhammer game is, ironically, the Lord of the Rings miniatures game. And that's just an objective fact. You cannot disagree with me, because I'm cursed to only speak in truths or else burst into flame and be dragged into the fiery pits of hell ever since I was defeated by a demon in a riddle contest as a result of my opening of an ancient puzzle box that I purchased from a mysterious Asian man in an Egyptian restaurant in Marrakesh. And so, I say, Middle-earth strategy battle game is the best Games Workshop game of all time.
I will agree.
Look at that, still flesh. And
with that statement, guys. I've only played one edition. I've got it back there, and I think it's not the current edition. It's the edition before the current edition. And I played. I think it was I had the Return of the King book, and that's actually what I got started with. And this is like way after that was already released. I guess it was the box set, the Return of the King. But I got just the book. I got it off of like, I think Thrifty Books or whatever the site is. And it was like $5. I was like, okay, I'll try it out. Love the game instantly. Then I coughed up, I think it was like $17 for that old edition I bought on eBay. And played it, love it, enjoy it all the time. I don't play it as much as I used to. I will say that, but still, by far, best game GW has ever put out.
admittedly, I might be a little bit biased, being a legit member of the Fellowship of the Ring and all. And if you don't believe me, here's an image of me outside a Hobbit orgy. Great night with the guys, that one. Have fun coming up with that image, Glenn. And truly, if you've never played it before, the Lord of the Rings miniatures game is a ton of fun. It's been organically chugging along in the background of the Warhammer ecosystem for over 20 years at this stage. In fact, for a...
That's just amazing for GW to keep anything around that long. You know those guys, they will kill something off in a heartbeat, I feel like. Usually a lot of things just seem like they get, especially with those box games, they get like a year's run. And then they kind of fade into obscurity. But I guess with a big IP like Lord of the Rings, why not keep it around? They're probably paying those royalties and all that stuff, and they're probably paying to have that IP. So might as well make some money off of it.
While there, it was actually the biggest game the Games Workshop produced. And when Peter Jackson released all those Hobbit movies that only the true Hobbit heads can stomach, and the Lord of the Rings bubble burst as a result, because it turns out there's not a lot of true Hobbit heads out there, it almost...
Yeah, did not enjoy those movies. Crazy thing is about this, I promised you guys, I promise you, I just got into a debate about this at the gym the other night. There was a girl there, she was saying how she loves the Hobbit movies and not so much the Lord of the Rings. And I'm like, maybe it's just when it came out. She's a little bit younger than I am. So maybe that's what it is. But I'm like, no, we're going to sit down. You and I, we're going to have a square off debate about this, because there's no way that anyone can say that the Hobbit trilogy is better than the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I will not hear it. I will die on that hill.
Bankrupted Games Workshop, the company. Great times. And ever since, Games Workshop have been pretty wary of the Lord of the Rings game. They haven't given it a ton of support. But nevertheless, the game has survived and honestly thrived even without a lot of support and new additions from Games Workshop. Hell, my local community still has a big group that plays the game on the reg. But now, things...
So one thing I will say, whenever a box set comes out, you will see an uptick and guys going out to the hobby store where I am playing it, and then it'll kind of like trickle off and like it'll die out again, and then they'll release something like, you know, a new model or something. You might see some guys go back, but other than that, it's really a game that only hits its stride like during like a release, which I guess you could say that's pretty much across the board for any game, but really for any GW game that's playing in the store, which pretty much only GW games get played in the stores. That's the only time you see Lord of the Rings really come out of the closet is when there's a substantial release.
Have changed, because Amazon, Warner Brothers, New Line Cinema, and probably many pornography studios are trying to turn Lord of the Rings back into a major cultural franchise IP. Please God, no, leave it alone. And so Games Workshop are now once again trying to take advantage of their legal right to produce little tiny miniatures of all our favorite Lord of the Rings characters, like Alan, Albert, I don't know, it starts with an A. Costco Grima. I'm sure they probably haven't learned any lessons at the last time they tried this and almost went bankrupt, but, you know, God love them, they're trying. And we know the Games Workshop are trying particularly hard because they recently announced a brand new edition of the Lord of the Rings miniatures game, all amidst a salty spray of hype and, well, best not ask questions about what that white goo is.
So, guys, if you know, let me know how long this last edition, the current edition right now, how long that has been running. I want to look at my book so bad. I'm going to turn around. This part will probably get cut out, but I'm going to turn around and see what the date is. So the older edition that I have has 2005 on the inside, and so I would assume that game was around for a few years, and then maybe the 2010s, 2012, roughly, maybe the new one came out, but you guys let me know for sure.
And people are excited. The new edition of the game is being released to coincide with the sexy new Lord of the Rings anime that features big titty anime girls, cool horsey fights, and giant eyes, because that's...
I have not seen that new one yet. I have not seen that anime yet. I grew up loving anime. I used to stay up all night watching anime, and I was a huge anime fan, right? Huge. And I don't know if it's tabletop that kind of took over that space or what, but I kind of started pulling away from anime. I still enjoy it from time to time, but for the most part, the art style doesn't turn me away in any kind of way, but it's not necessarily the art style I prefer to see animations in. So when I saw that they were releasing this animated Lord of the Rings movie, I was excited that Lord of the Rings was getting something, because I think any sort of content or material for a property, an intellectual property, is a good thing. In most cases, not all cases, obviously, with Disney and Star Wars. But aside from Disney and Star Wars, I think it was a good thing. I haven't watched it yet. Maybe I will watch it this weekend and give you guys my review on that and go from there. But happy to see that we're doing Lord of the Rings is getting some attention. We've got the Amazon thing.
What Tolkien always wanted. Again, still Flash. And okay, personally, the anime thing doesn't do it for me, but I know there's people excited for it, and who am I to stand in their way? An attitude that I wish Games Workshop had taken themselves, because they have now decided that this new edition of Lord of the Rings must be inaugurated in blood. And I'm not exaggerating when I say...
Now, we probably should have seen this coming, guys, because the Amazon show, they're pumping so much money into that. If you don't capitalize on Lord of the Rings right now, it would be stupid, okay? And I know you're saying, well, why kill off an entire rule set, or why update to a new rule set or edition when you can just keep expanding upon the edition you have now? And you guys, come on, if you guys are seasoned gamers, all right? You guys know that the only way to get new blood into the door is to start or to release a new edition. I mean, that's just a jumping off point, especially if it's a person that's thinking about getting into the hobby and they don't have a friend that is like right there teaching them how to play, you know, that's bringing the books to them. A new edition, new box set is always the best entry point.
Say the Games Workshop have now decided to delete a huge selection of the entire Lord of the Rings miniatures range, because they have. Last week they made a post on Warhammer Community detailing how they are now removing entire Lord of the Rings factions, plural, from the game. And now if you go to their store, you'll see that things like Fallen Realms were just deleted, the entire Dunland section of Isengard were wiped off the map and aren't coming back. Sorry, I got bad news there. Major factions like Mordor have lost huge swathes of their range, including one of my favorite, most iconic models in the entire model range for Lord of the Rings, the Ringwraith of Angmar.
That's a nice model.
Looks like it has
It's
left
probably
out of
one
an
of the best
old Lord of the
models,
Rings
too.
illustration and into my eyeballs. They even came for my boy Grimoire Grandma Wormtongue! Grandma! Because nothing is secret to these monsters. But not only that, dwarves, elven kingdoms, misty mountains, Gondor, Mirkwood, Dol Guldur,
Everybody's
and
getting
more.
hit.
They have all been hit
Everybody's getting hit.
significantly by this cull, by this deletion. This is one of the biggest range culls I've ever seen in the history of Warhammer, and there's been a lot of them lately. Now, most of these miniatures will be permanently discontinued, removed from sale, and no longer available in the next edition of Lord of the Rings to buy for or play with. And sure, some of these will come with legacy rules, but honestly...
Now, I wonder if this is being done to focus more on the period that the Rings of Power is focused on, with the Silmarillion, or I guess possibly before that. I don't know, guys. Let's not get too angst about this. Let's give them some time. Let's see what they got. Let's see if they've got plans. I know GW, they're not just gonna like pull the plug on a bunch of models and not have something equally as good to replace them with. I hope not. Maybe.
These will never see play again. Just like no one plays with Colonel Schiffer and the Last Chancers in 40k anymore. It's just the reality of war games. People generally play with relevant models. It doesn't matter if you still make vroom vroom noises with your Doom Rider while alone in your bed at night. You're not going to get it onto a table. So this is a massive loss to the game. Most everybody has lost rules and use of some of their models in the game. But some people were just devastated.
I mean, if you're a GW fan, you're used to that anyway, so...
Their entire collection wiped out with a single click. So there's a lot of upset right now, a lot of wailing of teeth in the community, a lot of anger. And honestly, yeah, there should be. Games Workshop miniatures are incredibly expensive, especially Lord of the Rings minis, which can weirdly be one of the most expensive ranges because a lot of the game still relies on metal and resin material.
Which is weird. Like, I mean, she's talking about it now. I remember, excuse me. I remember seeing a video where when they were first like coming up with the sculpts, casting the Lord of the Rings line, and they scaled them down to I think a true 25 millimeter to save in cost of producing the miniatures. So if that's still the case, and as far as I know, they're still in the same scale, I'm like 100% sure on that. Shouldn't they theoretically be cheaper if that's the case?
Which Games Workshop like to use as an excuse to jack the price up of the figures significantly. But not only now does it feel like there's a lot of wasted money on the table, it takes a lot of time and effort to build and paint these models too. It's frustrating to invest a lot of your life into models, building them, painting them, playing with them, only to discover that they've now been discarded by the game and community. And that if you want to play the new edition, then you're going to have to do that all over again with something different. Maybe even worst of all, not everybody knows that this has happened because Games Workshop have kept this news pretty close to their chest. When you click on the all...
I mean, you don't want to be on the cusp of releasing a new edition and making the current players salty. You know, if they're like, hey, guess what, everybody, we are getting rid of all of these models, maybe part of this, half this faction, and we're going to release a new addition to the game, but those models won't be, or won't have any rules associated with them. So again, you don't want to do that. You want to ease people into this transition. So that kind of announcement needs to be tucked way down in the news feed, down in the depths, so people cannot find it easily.
News and features in Warhammer community, this article doesn't even show up. Instead, you have to actively look for it by directly searching in the search bar. Or in my case, click into an article on a new model reveal for the new edition, then scroll down to the more news section and see an article entitled Range Update Explained. And then click it curiously, a range update? How strange. And then have your face grow pale with horror as you realize that now, not only do you have to put your Grandma Wormtongue on a horse model into a blender, but all your hopes and dreams too. Buzz buzz. But you know, it's just a little range update. Never mind that Games Workshop have just wiped out more of Middle-earth than all the armies of Morgoth put together. So yeah, this really blows. A lot of beautiful miniatures gone, especially for Fallen Kingdoms and the Dun Landings. They shocked me, especially because many of the models there are new and extremely beautiful too. But they're not alone, because Games Workshop are even ending, shockingly, the extremely new Lord of the Rings starter set that literally just came out last year. It came out literally last year, and now it's gone. It's gone. That's a crazy turn.
So, I mean, GW knows how to stir up a frenzy on the secondary market. So I know if you were even slightly debating getting that box set, hopefully most of the models in there will still have rules. I would believe so. You got Rohan in there. Go ahead and grab that box while you can, because you know once it's gone, it's gone.
Around. I think the Battle of Osgiliath lasted longer than the starter set depicting it. This is frustrating, but I think there's a lesson here for both Games Workshop and for the broader wargame community. For Games Workshop, they need to be more open about their plans in future. They need to give way more heads up for this, because now the store is empty of all these models. You can't pick up.
Why would they? Why would they want to give you more of a heads up? They want this information to come out probably as close to new releases or to the actual cutoff date as possible, because then people are scrambling. Then you get a uptick in sales versus you announcing this a year or two out, and then it's like, okay, it's a slow burn. No, they want people to bum rush the website and start buying the stuff up and flooding the eBay and everywhere else to kind of get this stuff.
Them up anymore. Look, I get it. I don't think that every single model range should or could be around forever.
Right.
I get that they're going to change. Model ranges are going to go away, come back, etc. But how Games Workshop are doing it right now is too sudden, sharp, and short notice. They need to be more transparent and open with the community. Talk about their plans. Talk about the future pipeline of their games. Because these swift removals without warning, they hurt the credibility of their miniature ranges with players. I mean,
I think talking about your future endeavors with a game can be tricky, because if you announce too much with players that are, what's the good word for it? With players that are dedicated to a particular style of a game, mechanics, the artistry of the miniatures, the sculpts, the way they're sculpted, and the design of things, you can run people off. You can give room for players to start complaining and writing off your new game before it's even released. There are tons and tons of options out nowadays with 3D printing. There's a lot of 3D printers now that will create a range and then find someone to write rules to go along with that range of models they have. And let's face it, 3D printing, even if you don't have a 3D printer, buying those resin miniatures are 9 times out of 10 cheaper than buying anything from any large gaming company. And if you got a 3D printer, that's just even better. I mean, that's probably one of the smartest investments you can make. If you live anywhere where you can easily vent a resin printer, I would definitely go buy one. You don't even need a big one nowadays. Any decent size, any size like a printer with a 6-inch or 8-inch bed or a print surface, perfect.
How many people will feel comfortable buying into future factions now when everyone knows at the back of their mind that these minis could be taken out of production and deleted at any moment? If you're not buying Isengard, Mordor, Rohan, or Gondor, will your chosen faction be around next year? And if you buy into some of the weirder factions like Angmar or Farharad, how long do they have? And even if you do stick with the main factions, who's to say you still won't lose access to whole swathes of your miniature collection anyway?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a killer for a time, money, and passion dependent hobby like wargaming. But
now, guys, I wonder if they're going to scale the game back. I know a lot of the times I see the players leaning toward the larger scale games, but if you remember the original box set, so the Fellowship of the Rings box set, Two Towers, and Return of the King. Those box set, at least the first two, I feel like were, well, Fellowship. Let's say let's stick with the Fellowship to be on the safe side. I feel like that box set was for more of a skirmish game. And then as with each iteration of the box set, the game kind of grew and grew from there, and then until you were getting the blue books. And then with the blue books, it was like, okay, now it's a full out like army game. But I think if I had to make an educated guess, I think GW is going to scale it back to a skirmish game where the focus is, again, back on your heroes with maybe like a small unit to go with your hero, putting you in that 8 model count, 8 to 10 model count, definitely less than 15. I think maybe they're going to go there so that way it's more accessible, and especially with Lord of the Rings being more of a gamble for them, I feel like I think it would be wise for them just to, at least for now, at least with this new edition, make people think that they're taking it back to that skirmish level game where it kind of all began.
Wargame community and Games Workshop too, honestly, I think we should all just be getting more comfortable with 3D printing, and understanding especially that if you're invested in the Games Workshop ecosystem and miniatures, you need to prepare for the idea that Games Workshop will simply decide someday to render your entire collection invalid, and there's nothing that you can do about it. Nothing is secret anymore. And so we need to just broadly accept third-party prints, 3D printed miniatures, both in casual play, but also competitive and tournament events too. And luckily, I think that the Lord of the Rings community are one of the better communities for that, so there's a little bit of a silver lining here. You know, hey, the nukes are coming, but we had bunkers. And for Games Workshop, if they are the best miniature designers in the world, as they claim so often, and their biggest fans claim that they are, then they should...
I think the prestige of GW being the premier miniature line or sculptors, I think that time has come and gone. I think what we're seeing with 3D designers, I think we're seeing just way too much talent out there.
Feel comfortable proving that in the open market, competing with other sculptors. Long term, it's healthier for their games, like how most historical companies still produce their own miniatures, but their games are often miniature agnostic. They accept other companies' miniatures in their tournaments and things, and this has led to a cheaper, healthier genre of wargame. I mean, check out the prices of this versus that. Also, you know, maybe Games Workshop should stop making such massive cuts to model ranges when a new edition of a game comes out, though. It's starting to get me real nervous when I hear that a new edition of a game that I love is coming out. I have a very big Warhammer collection, and I don't want to see it all go the way of the Dolicaris. Cute though it is.
Well, I mean, think about it, though. When they release these new editions, they need you to go out and buy more than just a book. So, and they also want to get some stock off of their shelves and out of their warehouse. So killing off a range of models. I'd hate to give them credit for anything, but I mean, it's probably the smart way to go for business.
Unfortunately, this might not be the end of this story. I'm concerned that we're actually going to see even more cuts soon. So I'm going to continue to follow
that as well.
And if you want to support me on this channel, especially in a world where YouTube ads are paying...
All right, guys. So good video as always. Discourse Minis. Give it a like, give it a follow. I always enjoy her stuff. And guys, for me, make sure you like this video as well. If you enjoy my reactions to all the random things that are going on in our tabletop hobby, continue to like my videos and subscribe. And as always, I will see you guys when I see you.